Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am your girl, Molinda Jae, and I'm here to discuss all the things that are unfolding in the Tyre Nichols case. Like, it seems like every hour, every day, the onion just keeps peeling. Like, it's getting insane. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it straight. Let's head on in there because it's a lot. And this article is coming from CNN.com. Okay. And I believe this is the stepfather here that's in this video. I'm not going to play it because I just want to get down to the details in the article. Okay. But it says first police report in Tyre Nichols case does not match the video of the horrendous beating. Okay. All right. An initial police report filed in the hours after Tyre Nichols' traffic stop suggested he was violent and made claims that were contradicted by video later released by police. Nichols was subdued on the ground, yet continuously beaten after the stop by Memphis police on January 7th, where he passed 3 days later. I'm using alternative words, y'all, because of YouTube. All right. The initial police report said Nichols started to fight. Here we go. Started to fight with officers at one point, grabbed by one of their pals, but neither claimed it was sustained by police videos released last week. And despite the fact that the videos don't appear to show Nichols fighting back, the report identified Nichols as a suspect in aggravated assault. The police report did not mention the officers punching and kicking Nichols. One of the officers at the scene, who has since been charged with second-degree red rum. This is red rum, y'all. Okay. Was described in the report as a victim. Oh, so we going that route. Okay. They just said one of the officers. They didn't specify who. All right. So the report also claims Nichols, who was black, was pulled over for reckless driving at high speed. Another claim that is not substantiated by video of the encounter. While authorities have not released the police report, a photo of police report was posted by controversial Memphis radio talk show host. The police report account was first reported by the New York Times. Shelby County District Attorney spokesperson Erica Williams told CNN. The DA does not have a report that has that same account of events. So what I'm getting just based off of this right here is that what was put on the report was there was a fight between him and the officers that led to him allegedly reaching for one of their pals, but there's no video of it. There's no receipts of it, right? Further along in the report, they didn't state that he was fighting back, and they just expected as aggravated assault. And then furthermore, they put on the report that he got pulled over for reckless driving at high speed, but there is no receipts on that either. Okay, let's see. The report said Nichols was irate and sweating profusely when he got out of his vehicle and refused lawful detention by law enforcement. And in other words, he restrained from being under arrest. The use of pepper spray and a taser gun had no effect on Nichols, and said the report. Okay, so we did see, if you have seen the video, because I've seen the video, you saw one of the officers, and he was not black. He was white. He was the one that was spraying. pepper spraying. And then I believe he also used the taser gun on him too. If not, then there was the other officer on the scene that was using the taser gun. But I do remember him winding the thread up for the taser gun after Tyre ran from the scene. Furthermore, on the article, it says the report also listed E. Martin as victim. One of the 5 officers charged with second-degree red rum and Nichols passing is Emmett Martin III. It's not clear who wrote the police report, which references both the Memphis Police Department and the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. CNN calls to Memphis police have not been returned. The Shelby County Sheriff's Office refused to comment on the statements in the police report or the Sheriff's Department's role in it. The release of reports in connection with the investigation is unauthorized and the Sheriff's Office cannot comment. Spokesperson John Morris told CNN while the report doesn't reflect what is shown on the body cam footage and the Sky Cop street camera footage on the encounter, it doesn't seem to reflect what the officers was discussing after Nichols was subdued and handcuffed by police the night of the incident. CNN has previously reported that the initial public statement from police was also contradicted by the videos. In other words, the math was not mathing because between what they presented in the police report and what was viewed on and what had taken place in the video. Okay. Now, furthermore, it says they beat on him like he was nothing, brother says. For the first time, Nichols was, beaten profusely. His brother Jamal Dupree is speaking publicly about the horror and anguish his family lives with every day. It's like a never-ending nightmare, Dupree told CNN this morning on Tuesday. Dupree has not watched a video of his 29-year-old brother getting beaten with a baton and kicked in the head. He said he doesn't need to see it. As soon as I seen them photos from him in the hospital, I already knew that they treated my brother like an animal, Dupree said. They beat him like he was nothing. I don't have to watch the video to know that. After public outrage, the gruesome video, officials have announced more firings or disciplinary action against public servants at the scene. In addition to the firings of 5 Black Memphis officers, all whom face red rum charges, officials have announced the firing of 3 Memphis Fire Department personnel. So I agree with the brother. He don't have to see the video, but from the photo that I seen of Tyre Nichols in the hospital, that was enough for me to be like, they really crossed the line with him. Bruised up, everything. Okay. And then when I seen the video, as far as I could, that's when I was like, yeah, it felt personal. Okay. It felt personal by the way they did it. But I'm gonna save my comments after I get done with this article because this is like a full break now. Let's see. 2 sheriff deputies have been put on leave, and the police department acknowledged Monday that 2 more officers have been put on leave. We are looking at everyone who had any kind of involvement in this incident, and rightfully so, because it was more just 5 of those officers. Like there was at least 8 on site from what I was counting in the video. Furthermore, from the officers and paramedics on the scene to those who filed the paperwork, Shelby County District Attorney Stephen Mulroy said Monday, because you're falsifying documents, right? Prosecutors moved extraordinarily quick with charges against the 5 officers primarily responsible for the passing of Tyre Nichols. The prosecutor said, as to everybody else, it's going to take some time as we do that investigation, but I assure you that the investigation is ongoing. The release of grisly footage of the attack of Nichols again horrified a nation that faces a steady stream of videos of police violence, especially against people of color. The dangerous encounter started with police pulling Nichols over for what they initially said was suspected reckless driving and unfolds at 2 locations. Video released Friday that Nichols running away after officers yanked him out the car and used pepper spray and a taser to try to make him lie prone, and then officers catching up to him in a second location where he was repeatedly kicked and beaten. After his hands were restrained and he's left slumped to the ground, roughly 23 minutes pass before a gurney arrives at the scene. Nichols passed away at the hospital of his injuries 3 days later, authorities said. Nichols' brother feels guilty he couldn't save him. Dupree said he felt it was his duty to protect his little brother. Now he says he's racked with guilt because he couldn't save him. My brother was trying to cooperate with him, Dupree said. If I was there, they would have to have ended me too, okay? Because I would have fought all of them. He said he wants everyone to remember how much joy Nichols brought to the world. My brother's legacy is everywhere right now. Everybody knows that my brother is an innocent person. He cared about people. He put people before himself. He was very selfless. He was just all around a great person to be around, the priest said. It should never happen to anyone, but at the same time, when you see a person like that and you know a person like that, it takes a toll. The world is going to miss a person like that, says his brother. As you can see here, you see the 5 officers that was initially fired due to the heinous crime. It says charges, firings, and those placed on leave so far. Here you see these individuals. I'm not going to read out their names because they don't deserve that. Okay. Yeah. 5 police officers were fired January 20th and then indicated last week that they face 7 counts, including second-degree red rum, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping with bodily injury, aggravated kidnapping and possession of a dangerous weapon, official misconduct, and official oppression. The 5 officers, I'm just going to name them because they in the article, right? Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith, Emmett Martin, and Desmond Mills Jr. are expected to be arraigned February 17th. Martin's attorney, William Massey, said no one out there that night intended for Nichols to pass away. Really? Okay. Mills' attorney, Blake Baldwin, said Mills had arrived later than the other officers, and his vision was impaired by the pepper spray used during the traffic stop. But wasn't he at the traffic stop in the beginning? And what did he do in that traffic stop? Was he one of the ones that pulled him out the vehicle? It doesn't matter if he appeared later on. He was there. Okay? He was there initially, right? Some of the questions that remain will require focus on Desmond Mills' individual actions and on whether Desmond's actions crossed the line that were caused by other officers during this incident, Baldwin said. And then at the same time, you arrived later, but did you stop it? What did you contribute to him not being beaten anymore? And then you arrived later. Well, define later. Did you arrive when they were almost done with him, or did you arrive when they was already done with him and then you just chatted along with them to figure out what was going on? Okay. Furthermore, it says attorneys for the other former officers did not immediately respond to requests for comment. I hope they stomp his ass. On Monday, police said 6th and 7th officer were placed on leave, with other 5 on January 8th, and 2 of those officers are still subject to an internal investigation. Police identified one of the 2 officers as Preston Hempfield, who is white. Police spokesperson Kimberly Elder declined to say whether Hempfield is being paid. No comment on that one. The city has released body cam and police camera surveillance footage on initial traffic stop, as well as the beating at the second site. One of the body cam videos reveals Hempfield at the site of the initial traffic stop, fired a taser at Nichols, and eventually said after Nichols ran, one of them prongs hit the bastard. Okay. It hit him, but obviously he kept going. Hemphill twice says to an officer who was with him, I hope they stomp his ass. That body cam video does not show Hemphill at the second site, where the country's district attorney has said Nichols was beaten and suffered his serious injuries. Okay. Furthermore, Hempfield's attorney Lee Gerald said his client, who hasn't been charged, was never present at the second scene. The 7th officer has not been publicly identified. The officer Preston, I'm just gonna say Officer Preston because, and the other officers' actions and inactions have been and continue to be the subject of this investigation, Memphis police said Monday. There are numerous charges still developing that are pending right now. And the Memphis Fire Department announced 3 employees that were fired over their response to the incident. Dang. Here you can see EMT Basic Robert Long, EMT Advanced Jamichael Sandrid, and Lieutenant Michelle Whitaker were fired from the Memphis Fire Department. And yeah, wow. Dang. All right, it says emergency medical technicians Robert Long and Jamichael Sandridge and Lieutenant Michelle Whitaker have been terminated, the fire department said Monday. The 3 were responding to a report of a person's pepper sprayed, and they arrived at the scene of the dangerous beating and found Nichols on the ground. And the fire department says the department investigation found that 2 EMTs responded based on the initial nature of the call and information that they were told on the scene, and failed to conduct an adequate patient assessment of Mr. Nichols, and the fire chief. So the initial call for the EMTs was for the pepper spray and not for tending to his aid. Whitaker had remained in the fire truck. The department said poll camera video released Friday showed that after the EMT, arrived and the ambulance arrived, the first respondents repeatedly walked away from Nichols, with Nichols intermediately falling onto his side. Initially, 2 deputies with the Shelby County Sheriff's Office were put on leave last week, pending an investigation after video of the incident was released. I have concerns about 2 deputies who appeared on the scene following the physical confrontation between police and Tyre Nichols, Sheriff Floyd Bonner Jr. said Friday. And boy, you see why I just waited to report, because like I said, there's something unfolding every hour, every minute, every day, okay? Lastly, a gross collapse of the system. After the fire department firings were announced Monday, an attorney for Tyre Nichols' family, Antonio Romanucci, said everybody on the scene was complicit in this man's passing. One way, shape, form, or another, somebody failed Tyre Nichols. They either failed by using excessive force, they failed him by severely beating him, they failed him by not intervening, they failed him by not rendering aid. The attorney said Monday. He said Nichols' family is trying to absorb the breadth of this multi-agency investigation while also dealing with the loss of their loved one. This is just a gross collapse of the system that we are supposed to trust, that it really is unspeakable, Romanucci said. A Memphis City council member said much more work needs to be done. We need to make sure that we go through our police department and see where we were weak, which is everywhere. Okay, do a clean sweep, y'all. Clean sweep, clean house. Okay, what happened with our procedures? Sounds like the procedures need to be updated. What happened with our oversight? Sounds like y'all are either understaffed or nobody wanted to tend to that at all. That's my opinion. Okay, Councilmember Jeff Warren said, I don't think we've seen the end of it, and I think we're going to find there's more to this as we go into trial. He said, I don't think we're on top of this yet. And that's the end of the report for CNN. Now, from what I was also looking at, y'all, was the unit. Okay, the unit that was dispatched. What was the Scorpion unit and the now deactivated police task force at the center of Tyre Nichols' passing? Okay, the 5 officers assigned to the unit have been charged with his passing. So I'm finna read this article as well. All right, because I feel like this is very crucial. The controversial Memphis Police Department unit at the center of Tyre Nichols' passing earlier this month has been deactivated. The Scorpion Unit, which stands for Street Crime Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods, has been permanently deactivated for the Memphis Police Department, announced on Saturday after city officials released footage of the fatal confrontation between Nichols and former members assigned to the unit. The decision came after police chef Sherilyn Davis met with other members of the unit who agreed with the deactivation, according to the statement of the department. In the process of listening intently to the family of Tyre Nichols, community leaders, and the uninvolved officers who have done quality work in their assignments, it is in the best interest that all to permanently deactivate the Scorpion unit, said the statement. Now, what is the Scorpion unit? Which launched in November 2021 and encompassed 40 officers split into 4 teams to patrol high crime spots throughout the city, the police department announced. At the time, MPD Assistant Chief Sean Jones told reporters during the launch that Scorpion officers would focus on auto thefts, gang-related crimes, and drug-related crimes. So what was the need for them to be dispatched on this particular person? If the focus was on auto thefts, gang-related crimes, and drug-related crimes, this unit should have never approached him at all. It should have been just a regular officer for a regular traffic stop. Okay. It's important to us that each member of the community feels like they can go to a grocery store or live in their home without their house being pow or frequently pow occurring on the streets and on the roadways. The location chosen by the police were determined based on the number of 911 calls, Jones said at the time. 2 months into the Scorpions deployment, Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland, dang, he's still in there, y'all, touted the unit's effectiveness in the state of the city speech. Strickland claimed the unit was responsible for 566 arrests, 390 of them felony charged, seized with 103,000 in cash, 270 vehicles, and 253 weapons between 2021 of October and January 23rd, 2022. The unit faces criticism because the reform activists and some residents, however, had accused officers in the unit using excessive force. Ben Crump, an attorney represents Nichols' family, told reporters Friday that he had heard of several alleged instances of the residents being pushed to the ground, cursed at, and suffered other physical injuries at hand of the officers in the unit. One of the alleged victims was 66. Now, what y'all doing beating up on a 66-year-old? What'd they do? According to Crump. He said he was confronted by this unit and he was brutalized. And when he had pictured of his injuries, Crump said, and so it was foreseeable that something tragic like this was going to happen. Crump repeatedly called to end the unit. You have a man literally laying down in distress, and people are just talking like this is business as usual. No, they were talking like they was in the gang, and it was initiation time type of thing. Had Tyre not succumbed to his injuries, how many more times would they have done this, and how many times had they have done it before? The Memphis police did not immediately comment on Crump's allegations. The Memphis Police Association, the union representing the city's police officers, said in a statement Friday following the reason of footage is that is committed to the administration of justice and never condones the mistreatment of any citizen or any abuse of power. So I'm just going to cut it off right there, because I remember the time where there used to be, do y'all remember? If you remember, you'll remember. But do y'all remember Neighborhood Watch? There used to be a neighborhood watch where people would gather around and basically look out for the community. It wasn't always based on calling the police if something disrupts or whatever the case may be. It was also to continue the community aspect and getting to know one another within the neighborhood in case something happened. If you needed some assistance and they had the resources, they'll pinpoint it out to you. But nowadays is less people holding a conversation, barely even looking at each other, unless something drastic happens. Then that's when people are able to start the foundation of building a relationship, a neighbor relationship with each other, because they can relate on something that has happened with them equally traumatically, if not more. And this is something that I was doing with my last job. Was I was working with Hurricane Harvey, and it was amazing how back then you would know who your neighbor was. Y'all have get-togethers and all that stuff. But now it's like you don't know your neighbor until something happens. And that's when y'all exchange numbers, y'all, talk a little conversation, and y'all will start to build a relationship there. I feel like at this point, when it comes to moving in with people, I'll tell you the best experience of me and my family moving into a spot was we have moved into this cul-de-sac, right? Things be jumping in the cul-de-sac, not like in a bad way, but whenever you live in a cul-de-sac area, it's already a little tight-knit community right there. So we have moved into this cul-de-sac, right? And all the neighbors within that cul-de-sac had came to our house and brought us some foods and just welcomed us with open arms, and we just fell right on in, you know what I'm saying? And that was like the best experience of welcoming somebody into their house before you even have your housewarming, is your neighbors come in, introducing themselves, and exchanging numbers and getting to know each other on a platonic level. And that way, whenever something happens, your neighbors will be able to have your contact information and let you know, like, hey, something has gone on at your house, and would you like for me to help assist with that? There's nothing like that anymore. People start building relationships based on trauma bonding, and it shouldn't happen like that, but it does. But at the same time, we need to get to a point where, whenever we move into these environments, you know don't be afraid to introduce yourself to people. HOA, that's a whole different experience. The HOA is more like Big Brother. All right. I'm talking about building community without HOA, because HOA, that's a whole nother entity in its own self. That's a whole nother sector, right? But other than that, yes, people, as you are moving to these new environments, don't be afraid to get to know your neighbors. That way, if something happens, they won't be, as much as they would want to help, they can't necessarily help unless um unless they have your contact information, at least your name and phone number, or your name and email, you know what I'm saying? Or social, okay, if you don't want to give them your personal phone number. But at least if something was to happen, they will have that information on hand. That way, if management is not in the office, if you're like staying in an apartment and stuff like that, that way they can reach out to you, and then you'll be able to connect with the first responders and all that stuff that's trying to help assist you. But far as I can see with this breakdown of this big old onion of it all, I've also seen reports of, this was, well, I always felt like it was personal just by the way they were beating up on him. But from other rumors and reports that's been going out of him, of Mr. Nichols being in cahoots with an officer's ex-partner and all that and stuff, like, that is beyond my reach. And I don't want to tap into that stuff, because that is not messy, but it's like, it gives you a whole nother perspective of um um not being able to close the door all the way when it comes to your relationships. If you're trying to move, if you would like to move forward within your relationships, give yourself some space to, do some self-reflection and some healing if necessary. So whenever another relationship, and make sure that door is closed, y'all. Make sure that chapter is all the way closed before you move into a relationship. Because even though you have that door closed, or a little peak wave for the ex to come through, I mean, the possibilities are endless on the behavior that happens after breaking up. It's just the same as the grieving process, but depending on the person's emotional standpoint and how they take rejection and all sorts of things, that can play a factor as well, in regards to either moving forward or tending to, putting your energy back into yourself, because you have been involved with somebody for so long, and now you're so used to being with this person, but now you're not. And that's like a reality check that people, refuse to want to acknowledge because they're afraid to be alone. Okay. But that's enough of my rambling. Again, I'll keep my eye on this case the best way I can. Like I said, again, to the family, I'm still continuing to sending nothing but strength, healing, and love and light energy to you all as you are going through this bereavement stage. And of course, to eradicate all the unnecessary actions that goes within this industry, or just with anybody in general. Like I said, it's a lot of avenues and scenarios within this thing. And also, when it comes to the street lights, y'all, don't be fooled. when them bright lights be shining on your houses and stuff, don't be fooled. That is a camera, okay? There is always, and you may think it's privacy and intrusion, but with this footage that they released out to us, if it wasn't for that footage in that particular neighborhood, it could have went a whole nother way. So you got to thank technology on that when it comes to the streets having cameras on it, because that can help someone's life. Because I haven't, from what I've seen in the video as well, I didn't see anybody out recording, or there hasn't been any other footage from a person living in that subdivision area from their perspective, using their own camera, like the Rodney King situation. It was just straight up body cam from the officers and the camera from the street light that the unit has set up to keep a close eye on the neighborhood. So with that being said, that's all I have, y'all. Feel free to leave your comments down in the comment section below of your thoughts and opinions about this situation. I know it seemed long-winded, but with me, I like to come with y'all with the facts, okay? And my thoughts. And all of this is for entertainment purposes and research purposes as well. But without further ado, I'm going to leave y'all to it. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that notification bell so you know the next time I upload a video. And always remember to love thyself, know thyself, soothe thyself, so you can heal thyself. And I'll see you guys